First, am I live yet? Let's see. There we go. All right, I think we are live now. This is Drew. Been having a lot of questions recently on stipends, tax homes, the 50-mile rule, and duplicating expenses. Um, just wanted to help answer some of your questions. There's been a lot of questions, some of the same ones asked over and over. Just kind of wanted to be able to answer them all at once here. While we're letting people join. Hey, what's up, Ryan? Uh, how's it going, guys? Glad to see you here. I was very nervous about anybody tuning in, so definitely appreciate it. Definitely a little nervous here, but excited at the same time. While some more people are joining, I want to just kind of say a few things. Thank you for being a part of this group. It's grown so much. Never thought we'd have grown so much so fast. I think in the past 3 months we've almost doubled the group, so that's awesome. We're getting a lot of good content from experienced travelers, new travelers. I think we're really helping a lot of people out here. A couple other things wanted to say. Uh, that when you post in the group, please try to keep it travel nurse related. We've been doing pretty good with this. I've had to delete a couple posts here recently just because I didn't see them quite relating to travel nursing enough. They're good questions. I really just don't want to bog the group down with non-travel nurse related things. Um, that's pretty much it. Before we get started, I do want to say I'm not an expert at anything. The only thing I am licensed in is a nurse. So anything I say on this Facebook Live or type on Facebook, just know I'm not an expert. It's just stuff I've learned basically through the same way you're learning now. I've spent countless hours on Facebook reading posts of others. I've read some articles. I've just done all kind of things, and I've pieced stuff together. And like I said, I really think the reason why I've learned so much is I have just spent a crazy amount of time trying to learn about it. I would say I've probably spent 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times as much as a normal travel nurse has, trying to learn all the ins and outs of this. Um, so just with all that being said, like what I say, it's not expert advice. Just don't come back and say, well, Drew told me this, and now I'm getting audited because I am not a tax expert. So with that being said, I wanted to just kind of start out explaining a little bit about the stipends. Start out with some of the easy stuff. First off, if you're not receiving stipends at all, this means local contracts, or even if it's a travel contract and you choose not to have stipends, it's super easy for you. You do not have to worry about any of the tax laws. You don't have to worry about maintaining a tax home. You do not have to worry about duplicating expenses. The hospital could be in your backyard and you could walk to work. It could be 50 steps, and that is completely okay. All those tax rules really only apply if you are receiving stipends. However, stipends are great because that is tax-free money that we get. So, I like to have the stipends because it's tax-free. Usually can get a large percentage of my income tax-free, which is great. Less money to the government, more money in my pocket. So with that being said, there's 3 big requirements to receiving the tax-free stipends. And sometimes it's really easy to actually receive them. Usually all it takes is for you to sign a travel contract. Your agency will send you an electronic DocuSign sheet or something like that. And all you simply do is check a box. And you electronically sign it, and wham, bam, you are receiving tax-free stipends. Your agency's paying it. You've told them, hey, I qualify for it. I checked the box. Perfect. And guess what? They'll pay you those tax-free stipends. But here's the thing. That, I believe, from my understanding, kind of covers the agency. You know, they said, hey, Drew, do you qualify for these tax-free stipends? I check the box. Yes, I sign it, and yes, they're paying me tax-free stipends. So if I were to get audited and the agency gets audited, the agency is going to say, you know what? Drew told us he qualifies for the tax-free stipends, so we paid him the tax-free stipends. It's now kind of my responsibility to really make sure I qualify to receive those stipends. And those 3 requirements I'm going to talk about really quick. The first one is maintaining a tax home. A tax home, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time what it is. There's 3 requirements to maintaining a tax home. I have a video in the group. If you use the search bar, you can search maintaining a tax home. It should be pulled up. Like I said, I go over the 3 requirements of what it takes to maintain a tax home. A lot of times these are going to be the homes that it's the address on your driver's license. It's your permanent home is what's likely going to be called your tax home. And also, just because it's your permanent home does not mean it is your tax home. So look out for that. If you have more questions about a tax home, make sure you check out that video. It will really explain what a tax home is and how to maintain it. The second requirement to receiving tax-free stipends is duplicating expenses. This means that you are not only maintaining a tax home, but you are paying for a place to stay at your contract location. A lot of people think that, if it's just over 50 miles and I can travel back home, that's completely okay. No, it's not. You're not duplicating expenses. If you're commuting back and forth between work, you are not paying for a place to stay at your contract location. Number 2, even staying, 3 nights a week and coming back home, that is okay, and you can still get tax-free stipends for that, but you only get paid 3 days worth of stipends if you stay there at your contract location for 3 days. Same with if you pay for 4 nights stay at your contract location. You're only going to get paid for 4 days of stipends. Or you'll actually get paid for 7 days, but only 4 of the days will be tax-free. So that's the duplicating part. Like I said, to receive the full maxed out stipend amount, you have to duplicate expenses every day of the contract. That means 7 days a week. And that means paying for a place to stay there. One thing I want to add to that is the fair market value. I've gotten a lot of questions about fair market value recently when it comes to your housing expenses and whatnot. You have to pay fair market value at your tax home and where you're duplicating expenses at. The reason the IRS put this in the rules is because they don't want a travel nurse to say, hey, I have a tax home. It's my parents' address. I live there for free, or maybe I pay them $1 a month and call that rent. And then I also have my contract and I'm paying for an apartment, 3 states over. That's not maintaining a tax home. And it can be the exact same way. Let's say you have an apartment that is your tax home, and then you get a contract 3 states over, but your best friend happen to lives in the same city, and she's a great friend. She's going to let you live there rent-free or maybe for $1 a month for the next 3 months. This actually is not considered duplicating expenses because you have to pay fair market value. The whole reason the government gives us, they allow us these housing stipends is because our job almost makes us have to pay for 2 households. Not most, but maybe most, I don't know. Some travel nurses have a permanent home or a tax home, but then their work requires them to go 3 states over and they have to pay for an apartment there. And that's what the government's actually doing, is they're helping those people out, saying, hey, since you have to pay for 2 households, we're going to allow you to have some of your income tax free. So they create these rules to prevent people from taking advantage of that benefit that they're offering to the people that maintain or have to pay for 2 households. So back to what I was saying, in the scenario where maybe you have an apartment at home, but 3 states over, your best friend lives there and is charging you $1 a month. Well, you're not really paying fair market rent. What that or really fair market rent, what the best way to go about it, what is apartment? If you're renting a 1-bedroom apartment, figure out in your city what is the cost of a 1-bedroom apartment, or what is the cost of a 2-bedroom apartment, or what is the cost of a one room, that you're renting. Whatever you're renting, you want to rent a comparable, realistic cost in that area. Be, I don't know, on the low end, maybe six. Question it if it was only $600. But if you were traveling in LA, a 1-bedroom apartment, I really don't know, but I wouldn't doubt it if it was $3,000 a month or maybe more. So really, fair market value changes. They don't ever say, you have to pay this much per month for your rent when you travel somewhere. You just have to pay fair market value. And if I was you, I'd find out what the average cost is, and I'd maybe be on the low end of average. It's really kind of up to you. It's really if you get audited, you're the one who's going to have to prove to the IRS that, I was following the rules, and this is what I did, and this is why I did it. So the third requirement is far enough away from your tax home to receive stipends. This is kind of where the 50-mile rule comes in. This is number 3, is the 50-mile rule. There is no 50-mile rule, but the IRS definitely cares about the distance. The reason people say there is no 50-mile rule is because 50 miles is actually never mentioned in this part of the tax law. They never say exactly 50 miles is far enough. If you're 49 miles, you're too close and you can't get stipends. So a lot of people misinterpret that and say 50 miles is the exact distance. At 51, I am good. And some people interpret that as there is no 50-mile rule and I'm good to go. I don't have to be 50 miles away and I should still get stipends. But really and truly, what it says, and I'll paraphrase this, I don't have this pulled up in front of me, but from my remembering it and me paraphrasing it, basically what it says is that the distance you travel or you commute is far enough that you have to stop and rest to meet the demands or requirements of work. So what that means is that if you cannot commute to and from work every day and still meet the demands of work. So really and truly, it's very vague. There's not a certain mileage. I would think at least an hour and a half commute would be probably the closest I would be comfortable doing it. And I would still be maybe a little worried about it if it was just an hour and a half commute at the same time. So it's, again, if you get audited, it's more you kind of having to convince the IRS, like, yes, my commute was only 1 hour and I couldn't do that every day. I guess you would have to explain to them why that wouldn't work out for you. So there's really no need to risk it. I mean, get it if you're going to take stipends, get your contract more than an hour and a half, 2 hours away from home. Also, guys, if you want, go ahead and start posting your questions. All right, we'll start here, Ryan. Oh, right, that's a long one. Let's see here. I don't think if you're talking about property like land, I don't think you can do that. I think like I'm not sure. I've read something about this, but like your land cannot be considered your tax home if that's what you're saying. Oh, let's see here. All right, so Tina, what if I'm going to stay with a friend and pay her $1,000 a month? Um, yeah, I mean that's fine. You would be duplicating expenses, $1,000 a month. Type up a quick lease and just let her say that you're paying her $1,000 a month. I know you messaged me earlier. You wanted to pay her $1,000. Maybe that's a price y'all have already agreed on. Maybe you were not comfortable paying her less than $1,000. Potentially depending on the area, $1,000 might be well above fair market rent. You might not have to pay her $1,000 if you were paying her for that reason, just to make sure you were above the fair market rent. But no, I would think $1,000 a month in most places would be plenty, especially for a bedroom, which would be probably classified as what you're renting. Can you have no home address? If you're receiving tax-free stipends, you have to have a tax home with an address. Um, so I do know that some people struggle with a mailing address just because they don't know where to send their mail from between their tax home and their contract location. That's a struggle. We all go through that. I recently purchased a house this year, and my mail has all just been going there. And I have someone check it occasionally. And most of my bills are online, so I don't really worry too much about the bills. Let's see. What if you have an RV? Oh, that's a good question. An RV works for some people. It would not work for me. I'm a big guy. I wouldn't fit in an RV. But as far as stipends go, you can definitely do that. However, your RV payment on the loan of the camper or the RV is not considered the duplication. What is duplicated when you have a camper is the camper spot, the LV, oh my goodness, the RV camper spot that you pay. So if you go to a campground, and I don't even know what those cost, but let's say you pay $400 a month for your camper spot. That camper spot, you paid $400 for that month, then you duplicated expenses for that month. It's not, again, it is not your RV loan payment. That is not considered duplication. All right. Guys, I'm still a little nervous reading some of these longer answers. It's hard for me to follow. Let's see here. So much over the years. Jessica, I'm looking at your question. So you have your own apartment for $1,200 a month, but my permanent address is still under. So I'm assuming the $1,200 a month is at your contract. My permanent address is still under my parents' home because I have moved so much over the years. It was just easier that way. I have a hotel paid for the 13-week contract. I signed for 4 hours away. Okay? So the 1,200 is 1,200 a month is more your home. You're paying for a hotel at your contract, but your parents' home is kind of what you claim. Assigned. So you're 4 hours away. Would I be okay since I have proof of payment for both my apartment and hotel, but permanent address still? So your permanent address, I would assume it's. Check out the video I have about the tax home. You can find it in the group. I think I might have told you about that earlier. I'm not sure. It sounds like your $1,200 a month apartment might classify more as your tax home. I would probably watch that video and see between your parents' address and the $1,200 apartment, which one more classifies as your tax home, and probably start the next contract. I would just use whichever one classifies as your tax home, actually. Um, so, because without a tax home, you shouldn't or you don't really qualify to receive tax-free stipends. All right. What if you have two homes in different states? Again, guys, I just want to, we're getting kind of into very specific stuff. I want to say I am not a tax expert, so I'm going to tell you if I don't know or if I'm not sure, please don't take my advice as, you know, as the rules for sure. What if you have two homes in different states? Um, I would watch the video, see if one of them classifies as your tax home. There's three requirements to maintaining a tax home, and I would hope one of the two homes would classify as a tax home for you, and I would label it or when on your form when your agency sends you to check the box that I qualify for stipends. You check the box and you put the address of your tax home on that form, and then you electronically sign it. If one of those two homes classify as your tax home, then I would list it on that form and check the box yes. All right. What if I want to take a local contract within 50 miles / 1 hour of my permanent home? Do I take stipends and just pay taxes on them, or should I take a higher hourly rate? That's a good question. I've normally, what I would say is no, you will not receive stipends. They will not be tax free. Um, and usually, what they do, if I had an agency, what I would do is instead of paying you the stipends, I would divide the amount of stipends by 36 because let's say it's a 36-hour contract. Let's, I can't do that quick math in my head, but whatever the total stipend amount is, I would divide it by 36 and I would add it to your hourly. So your hourly rate would go up $30, $40, $50 maybe if you're in some, high stipend type area. However, there's been a few agencies recently that I've seen where they pay you these taxed stipends. In my opinion, just kind of makes things different and more complicated and harder to explain. But yes, if your agency is paying you tax-free stipends, which I would hope they wouldn't, if you've clearly told them you don't classify for stipends and you've told them it's a local contract, you're within 50 miles in 1 hour. I would hope they just wouldn't even pay you the tax-free stipends. Of course, you'll still get paid that money; it just won't be tax-free. But yeah, if you get paid tax-free stipends when you clearly don't qualify for them, you definitely want to make sure you pay taxes on them. Talk to your CPA at the end of the year. However, if it was me, I'd just make sure the agency didn't pay me the stipends tax-free. I would make them add it to my hourly rate. However, if you've already started the contract and they're already paying you that way, you probably can't change it at this point. But yeah, just make sure your CPA gets that straightened out at the end of the year because if you get audited, the IRS will definitely not be happy with you. Yeah, so I was right, Jessica. Your parents, I got you. Yeah, like I said, just watch that video, see which one classifies between your parents' home and your apartment, and decide from that. Is the portion of the stipend not? Is the portion of the stipend not or not? Oh, I got you. I'm having a hard time reading here. If it's not used, no, you get to keep it tax free. That's the thing about duplicating expenses. If you duplicate expenses every day of the contract, meaning 7 days a week, you get to keep all of your stipend money tax free, regardless if you use it or not. So yeah, that's why I like stipends because you receive a large portion of your income tax free. I'm going back to this long question here that I was. Ron, your situation just seems really specific, and there's a lot of points to it. So if I haven't fully answered your question, send me a message and we can maybe try and figure it out. But I definitely appreciate the question, man. Appreciate the support. Uh, so Joanne has a question here. Duplicating expenses. Does paying rent for a room at market price qualify? Duplicating expenses? Yes, if it's a fair market value and you're paying 7 days a week at your contract location and maintaining a tax home, I would say you would be qualifying for stipends, especially if it's far enough away that you can't commute. So your driver's license should match your perm home, like just mine's my mom, same town. A permanent home and a tax home, I think, can be different. So again, not a tax expert on this. I don't want to lead anybody wrong, but I don't think they have to be the same. Like I said, I would probably check with travel. What is it? Travel tax. Joseph Smith. He's in the group. He very knowledgeable. Specializes with travel nurses. Any questions you have? He has a blog with frequently asked questions. I've checked it out frequently. It's been a while. But no, he puts out a lot of good information. So he's a good person to ask your questions to. He also, like I said, is a CPA. I believe he's a CPA. I know he can do your taxes and all that good stuff. So a lot of people use him as well because he's very knowledgeable and can help you out a lot. Let's see. Good to know. Thanks. But keep all receipts for all living expenses. All living expenses. No, that would be kind of tough. Um, I mainly only worry about my housing receipts. The housing receipts are because you have to duplicate expenses, and duplicating meaning the housing. You just have to prove that you are duplicating your housing expense. So every month when I say Venmo, the person I'm renting from, I'll just put rent Chattanooga, Tennessee, April or something like that. If I write a check, I just put in the little memo rent, April 2020 or something like that. Or I pay with my credit card. I really use my credit card for everything for several reasons. But one reason is I know the transaction will be on that credit card, and I can always go back and look at that statement. Two, using a credit card, you will have lots of protection if you can use a credit card responsibly. You kind of protect yourself from some of these scams and whatnot. If anybody steals your card number or something, credit card companies are very good about going ahead and fixing the situation, whatnot. So it's another reason why I use a credit card. Let's see. If we take a contract and can't do stipends, does the money get rolled into a flat hourly wage? Yes, most of the time that's what they do. If I had an agency, that's how I would do it. For the most part, you still, like always, some agencies will tell you if you don't qualify for stipends, you just don't get that money at all. That's just them being them. You definitely still get the money. A lot of times it's rolled into the hourly like you're asking. Sometimes they'll still just pay you and they'll call it a stipend, but in parentheses it'll say taxed or something like that. But yes, you still get that money. On a side note, if you ever see a contract and it's showing you the pay package with the stipends, and then you say, "Oh, I don't qualify for the stipends," or maybe, well, you don't qualify for the stipends, and then they send you the pay package for a local contract, the same contract, but it's local and it's not stipend. Sometimes it'll be a little bit lower simply because the agency, when they when you receive tax-free money, the agency receives tax-free money. And the more you receive tax-free, the more they receive tax-free. So if you receive no money tax-free, meaning no stipends, then they get no tax-free money. Well, they still have all their costs they've got to cover. So they actually have to take more money from you. So really and truly, the travel contract will pay more than the same local contract. Not much more, but a little bit more. So just something to kind of know. If my perm home is paid for, do I qualify for tax-free stipends? Yes, you still can. That your home is still your tax home. Check out that video that I have in the group. You can use the search bar, how to maintain a tax home. But yes, you can still maintain a tax home if your home is paid for because you still have expenses and all that good stuff. Just check out the video. Hopefully we'll answer your question more and give you more details. All right, guys, we'll go for, I don't know, maybe another 10 minutes. All right, sorry for the long question, but I have a follow-up on the local assignment question. All right, so just to break this up in parts so I don't, get kind of lost in all my words. The first part here, you're asking how much do I think I should try to negotiate to increase my hourly by? You're saying that it's a local contract, you're not getting stipends, you want to know how much more. Really what I usually do, I haven't really taken a local contract. All of them are travel contracts. It's usually, if you get a travel contract, it'll have an hourly and then the stipend amount. And then to go to a local contract, what you do is you just get the stipend amount and you divide it by 36 and add that to your hourly rate. Does that make sense? I believe, like in South Georgia, the max stipend per week is $1,057 a week. Divide that by 36, and I think it comes out to be like $29 and some change. So let's say the travel contract was paying a maxed out stipend plus $20 an hour, and then let's say I was looking at that contract and decided, oh, it's too close to my home, it's local. I would then just take that $1,057 divided by 36, which is like 29, to the $20 an hour. So it would really pay like $49 an hour. So we'll go to the next part. Okay, so I just kind of explained that. Then add that to hourly. Would you recommend doing that math and then taking that number to the agency and asking them to increase your hourly? Absolutely. I would ask them for that amount. I did just explain in the question before, it was kind of that side note I added, that when a contract is travel compared to local, sometimes the total local gross pay will be a little lower, simply because when you get tax-free stipends, the agency gets tax-free money. And when you don't get tax-free stipends, the agency doesn't get tax-free money. So that means that the agency they make less money, but they still have the same cost of that contract of, getting you onboarded and all the regular cost of onboarding a nurse and having a nurse work. So they're going to have to take a little bit more of your money. So that might be a reason that the hourly might be just a little bit lower than what the travel contract is. I hope that helps. The people that I pay rent for a room, do they need to report these payments to the IRS? They should. However, I mean, you can't make them do anything. You can't make someone abide by the tax rules. So, I mean, really, that's up to them. You still qualify regardless of what they do. You did your part. So, let's see here. Again, guys, just want to kind of keep saying this. I'm not a tax expert. We're getting into some questions. I don't want to lead anybody wrong. This is all kind of my interpretation of tax laws and this stuff that I've learned over the years. Would love to find a travel partner. Yes, I found mine on the first contract. Let's see. When looking at travel opportunities listed by agencies, the weekly amount listed the stipend. I'm assuming you mean, does the weekly amount include the stipend? Yes, typically would think so. Whatever the total gross pay is, if that's all they list is the total gross pay, if they don't break it down into an hourly and a stipend. So I think that's about it for now, guys. I really appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate the questions. So I definitely appreciate the support. Was very nervous about this to start with. So maybe we can do this again. Maybe we can make it a regular thing. If you got other topics that you want to talk about, be sure to maybe put them down below, and we can maybe plan something in the near future. So thanks, guys. Have a good night.